of all time in the top lane. Probably even more so than a Scion could be, just given that your HP bar just only goes up for the duration of the game. It's pretty much impossible for your HP amount to reach 0, so that's going to be something to keep an eye on.
As we get ready here for game number 1, the debut of anyone's legend in 2026, an org with so much promise and so much excitement in this past year, making its way, running back the roster, going up against the Demacia Cup champions in Invictus Gaming. Let's get to it here in day 2 of LPL Split 1. You take a look at the runes as the jungle camp spawned a little bit earlier than we are typically anticipating. Looks like we got some heavy trading in the bot lane though here, Fulls, to start things off. Yeah,
we're just right into the action, and this is what everybody has been raving about with Season 16, is there is just no time for breaks, as we see summoners having to be expended already as well. If we were in Season 15, they wouldn't have even started clicking each other yet, Grapes. I love this new season and how fast-paced it is, and it's just going to be so intense from start to finish here. I mean, just look at the amount of prowess this bot lane is showing here from AL with the range they're having, the Varus and the Bard. Alistar can't just match us, and Sivir's being forced to recall in the first 90 seconds of the Games game. Season 16 is no joke.
I know a lot of the off-season changes have, for the AD carry position have been about adjusting for adding a lot of crit champs back into the meta, but we've seen Varus really have a lot of high priority despite some of that, and we're seeing why. The early laning phase, regardless of whether or not you're building crit items or not, always very strong on a lethality Varus. He's going with the Comet, so we are expecting more of that poke build. And when you're playing Sivir, Alistar into a Varus, definitely not hoping to win lane, and it looks like right now Photic and Joy not in a good spot.
Yeah, and keep in mind, they're winning this lane down a combat summoner spell. Hope literally has teleport, which means it's just going to be that much easier for him to keep advantage of this lane. I like what Shanks does there. Make sure he can use his spell to secure the minion and actually have the trade be somewhat even. This is a very hard matchup, particularly when the Orianna has the early game runes, which I know for a fact Rookie took every single possible advantage he could in the rune page. So yeah, I mean, as Azir here, he's even flashing the Comet to stay alive. It is that threatening. It really is. Believe me, I've played this matchup about 100 times, and it doesn't get much easier. So you gotta wait till level 6, and maybe Tarzan can help you out then.
Yeah, in case you're, I know, Fulls, you're a little bit newer to the LPL show, but in case anybody doesn't know watching at home, this guy's challenger mid laner. Here in Season 16, he's been playing a lot of solo queue. Obviously, he's played a lot of solo queue in Korea, even against some of these LPL pros, back in the day when he's boot camping over there. So knows a lot about these specific matchups, and that's a really exciting part of having you on the show here, man. Getting a chance to, get into the nitty-gritty, specifically with, some of these mid lane mage matchups.
Yeah, and I've probably played against over half of these players. I'm not sure exactly which ones I haven't, but what's really interesting is I'm pretty sure I got to meet Sobero in real life, actually, when I was boot camping at the FearX boot camp. I do believe I saw him there. He is pretty recognizable. He was on FearX at the time. I'm not sure if he recognized me, but hey, that's all good, man. I saw him on and off the Rift, and I gotta say, man, he's really good.
And after that, here we are on the same stream together. We both, you guys both made it. So
we made it, Grapes.
Good so far. Yeah, I mean, for Sobero and FearX, I mean, again, winners of that LCK Challenger split. I think a lot of people going in expected KT to be the big favorites there, but pulling off a bit of an upset. I think Sobero was a big part of that. And so far, struggling a little bit against Flandra. And as we say it, hey, Fulls, welcome to your first caster curse of 2026.
First caster curse,
Flandra
baby.
Picking up first blood.
I should have seen that coming, man. That's just the way it goes around here, man. As soon as you start praising somebody, that's when the curse kicks in. At first, I didn't believe in caster curses, but I've seen far too many to think that they don't exist, man. There is some voodoo magic that goes on, and unfortunately, we did do our boy Sobero a little bit dirty there. It is the way she goes. And to be fair, he did get counterpicked again in this matchup. The Rek'Sai is just going to be super powerful up there, really hard to deal with. And even having this really effective runes, if you've noticed there, the elixir he has, the elixir of force, I believe it's called, it's super effective as well. So it's going to get even harder for this Renekton.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably the difference in terms of getting that kill or not. As now in the mid lane, we're seeing Rookie land that shockwave already. Shanks only level 5. He's able to dash back in with the shifting sands and secure a trade, but you see those minions tick, tick, and ticking underneath the turret. Going to be a win overall for Rookie.
Yeah, you know, this is actually pretty good for Shanks, and I'll say why is because, now I'm not sure if he was super based and he immediately clicked the shop to buy it the second he died, which is what you honestly should do, is the Dark Seal. As soon as you're in the gray screen and you realize it's going to be a 1-for-1, make sure by any means you can have a Dark Seal in your inventory, because now look, even though it looks like Rookie outplayed him there, Shanks is the one who can have the last laugh because he gets to keep these extra Dark Seal stacks. That's 8 extra AP, and that does actually go quite a long way. So, especially given how difficult this laning matchup is, if you're able to go somewhat even, this definitely does benefit you down the line. So I'm going to go ahead and say that was a misplay from our guy Rookie.
And big thing as well, now Rookie doesn't have his flash, and Shanks has his ultimate, and so does Tarzan. If we go for potential play down there in the mid lane. Seeing an ultimate being burned by Sobro up in the top side, allows for Wei to dash in here, steal away this blue buff. Overall, relatively even early game, although AL slightly ahead in gold at the moment. A lot of that just some of the CS leads that have been generated specifically towards the bottom lane. Hope and Kyle up about 12 CS over Photic and Joy.
Yeah, and you know, it's a really good point you mentioned that Orianna expended her flash, because guess what? Not only does she have no flash, but Azir's flash is coming up soon. Chains of Corruption does go wide as Hope levels up to 6 there, but as soon as Shanks has flash, you know, it's hard enough to survive Azir Jarvan with flash, but with both of them having flash and you not, you're pretty much unable to even exist in any sort of aggressive units at all in the mid lane. You're just forced to be maximum defense for it's going to be at least like 4 minutes here, and that should mean that AL is just going to have that much mid prio and secure the objectives they want. They already got that first Drake. We got those grubs coming up in 45 seconds. I would not be surprised if those if AL has their name written all over those.
Well, you now see Wei looking for a lane gank up in the top side. Has the public execution available, and it's going to get flashed on by Sobro. Flandra is gone. And that's IG getting their revenge on the top side.
Yeah, you see that Wei has actually been hovering the top side for quite a while here. First, he secured the blue buff. Then he was even able to stick around for a while, clearing his top side camps, going for the lane gang. Really well played. They knew that the Rek'Sai had no flash from that earlier solo kill. And that's the thing with these kind of solo kills and with these kind of matchups is you saw that, for example, Shanks was on the back foot, and then Rookie kind of gave him another way back into the game. That's kind of what happened the same way here with Flandre. He puts Sobro on the back foot, and just by slightly over trading and getting his HP a bit too low, now he doesn't get to keep that advantage. And if you're not able to maintain the advantage, then you can't really build that insurmountable snowball. So
now Anyone's Legend looking again for another gank, this time towards the bottom side. Photic spell shielded the initial stun, and Tarzan instead opting to use the Cataclysm on Dejue, who does not have the Unbreakable Will, making it a very easy kill for Hope. Will be Photic also getting out. Now in the mid lane, we see some trading here as the Shurima Shuffle comes in from Shanks. But Rookie did not tank tower aggro and should be able to get out of okay.
Yeah, Shanks deciding to just expend the spell just for the trade. We see Bards coming in here.
Ooh, Shanks barely able to get away from that shockwave, and now Rookie gonna get hit up by that Tempered Fate. Tarzan dashing in with Flag and Drag, and Rookie will go down. Shanks getting his second kill of the game, and AL get 2 back-to-back.
Yeah, I mentioned the Dark Seal, and it's just increasing in stacks on there. You know, it's sort of the mini Soul Stealer. He's sort of claiming fragments of Rookie's soul here, and as Rookie, you need to make sure that you stay alive, you know, for the rest of the game here, because you cannot be giving over more of these deaths. I didn't think that Rookie had actually stepped up too far. I thought that Azir ulting just for the chunk was fair enough, but I think Rookie decided to play just a bit too aggressive, thinking that Wei could reinforce him. But that's just the power of Bard. He's just able to be what I like to call a Schrodinger's cat superposition all game. He's just everywhere and everything all at once. There's just no way to escape this Bard. He's constantly in your face. He's wherever he wants to be, wherever he needs to be. And this Bard champ is completely able to control the map. And we see there, it completely influences that mid lane.
Now he's back towards the bottom lane, chunking out Joy again. He is forced to burn the Unbreakable Will underneath his own tower. That is a just true testament to the strength of anyone's Legends bot lane at this point. Led by Kyle in the support position on the Bard. This guy, I think, really establishing himself as the best support in the league last year, and we're continuing to see that here in the start of this series, start of this season. This Photic could be in some trouble as well, though he does have both of his summoner spells.
Yeah, I think back to that previous play where Tarzan was able to pick off Jue, and I thought that was pretty well played by both sides there. It was some really high-level League of Legends. We saw that Tarzan was holding on to the Cataclysm for as long as he could because he knew, no matter what, Photic was good enough to not only flash the Cataclysm, but also to flash the damage. That is the way Cataclysm works. If you flash correctly, you will also evade the entirety of the damage. And so I believe Azir has no E here. He should be dead.
He face checked the brush, and he gets canceled by the shockwave from the dash. Rookie flashing forward, almost able to take down Shanks, and finally does, but could get punished for it as he had to step a little bit far forward. Tarzan with the Cataclysm onto 2, and Wei is forced to flash away. Jue not so lucky. He's already used his ultimate earlier, and Hope dashes up from the bottom lane and picks up his second kill of the game as AL get yet another, although it is a 1-for-1.
Yeah, you know, it looked like it was way worse for AL than it actually turned out to be because I will say you're losing the Darksteel stacks as Azir. I know I keep mentioning this, but that does matter quite a lot. So that's definitely some solace for IG here. But as Azir, if you're pressing that shifting sands, that E, and you're getting interrupted, it's such a big deal. You see he tries Eing out, boop, interrupted by the shockwave, immediately followed up by the public execution. All he can do here is hopelessly flash away, realizing that he is going to end up going down. And, you know, I would think that the rest of this transpires a bit more favorably for IG, but turns out Tarzan is just able to completely just sort of Cataclysm Jue to death there. That was really effective, so.
And now we get some more skirmishing up towards the top side. Shanks dashing forward, knocking up Wei. Should be able to take him down, and Flandre will land the final blow before flashing on out. Saboro, though, with that Dominus, is very tanky, but not going to be able to escape a 1v4 that AL have set up for themselves. It's another 2-for-0 in favor of your #1 seed or your best representative from the LPL last season. They extend their gold lead to 2,500.
Yeah, and I'm taking a look at our new HUD here, and it just looks like all the quests are being lit up here for AL. They're just doing whatever it is they need to do. We see that they have every quest complete here except for the mid lane, so they are definitely ahead in the driver's seat right now. This Rek'Sai champ is just so hard to punch through. They really did try, but I mean, as just Ambessa and Renekton here, you kind of need a bit more time, and Kyle and Shanks did not give them that time, nor did the Jarvan from Tarzan.
Now Flandre, you know what? Worth. Look at all the plates he got. Got, what, 3 of them? We'll take those. You got 2 kills. It's not really worth, but, you know, I'm a top laner. I kind of know the feeling.
I mean, it's relatable, you know, as Rek'Sai, you don't expect that Ambessa is going to immediately return to your lane there. Looks like Photic completely on his lonesome down here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, he has to flash away, gets hit up by the Tempered Fate as well, and sets up for Tarzan to come forward with that flag and drag. Not going to go with the Cataclysm underneath the turret as Photic still has the barrier. But this Sivir has really been unable to play the game from minute 1 fulls.
Yeah, and Photic's been doing his best job of staying alive, but he's still down 2,000 gold here, man. And, oh, it looks like it was actually Orianna who was able to catch the Rek'Sai off guard. That's a good replay we see. Tarzan behind enemy lines here. I don't know if he realizes Saboro's position.
Yeah, tries to use that flag and drag, flashed away from the public execution, going to keep himself alive a lot longer than potentially anticipated. And with Kyle into the area as well, he's healing Tarzan up, barely able to keep him alive until finally the Call of the Meek does take him down. There's a shutdown into the hands of Saboro, and Wei's looking for more. The second Q is flashed away from Hope, though, and he'll be able to get one back. AL able to salvage what was a good play from IG. Until potentially Jue has other ideas. He's flashing forward, looking to try to take the Varus down, but nobody can close the gap just yet. Saboro with the slice, but no dice. One more auto, and Hope still stands. Jue falls as well. Disaster for IG in the bottom lane.
And how good is this Hope guy, man? If you take a look at the player cam, he is low-key smirking from ear to ear. He knows how well he played that. First, he's flashing the Ambessa damage on the Sundering Slam with the second Q2 there. That one deals like 300 plus damage. Would certainly have killed him. He completely jukes it. Then he's cutting them out perfectly. It was actually really well played to channel the recall immediately because, you know, sometimes recall is the most effective spell in the game. It low-key mind-controlled IG to try and stop him, and that's what led to him getting even more kills just by cutting him that perfectly. Watch the Jarvan here. I thought it was kind of cheeky, but it wasn't the best look. He tries EQing into the portal to try and get out, but the Dominus is just able to clip him there, as well as the Call to Meek. And I think he could have probably just flag and dragged another direction. Look at this flash, by the way. Super well played.
Beautiful.
And yeah, Hope completely smurfing here. I do think that Tarzan did kind of grief a little bit, but Hope made up for it entirely.
There's a lot of big names on this Anyone's Legend roster, of course. I feel like Hope is one that potentially gets slept on a little bit, but he's just been a very consistent performer throughout the last couple of years. Of course, made it to Worlds all those years ago back in 2022 with JDG. Gets replaced for, of course, Ruler, and you're going to, of course, be okay with that if you're a fan of JDG back in the day. But ever since then, Hope continued to build his resume back up, getting back onto Anyone's Legends, going for that Worlds run, and now looking incredible here in his first series of 2026.
Yeah, Hope is completely poised to take over this game. You know, with that quest being complete, it just means that the 80 carries are generating extra gold compared to everyone else on the map. So Hope already having pretty much a 2,500 gold lead, he's just going to be able to keep building that lead over his lane counterpart and just over the rest of IG. Hope is probably going to be the richest champ in the game for the rest of the duration of the game, unless they're able to shut him down and really thwart him, because yeah, Hope's trajectory is really bullish right now.
One of the symptoms of some of the new changes, the waves spawn in faster, you get more gold, and it feels like we've been in this game for like 25 minutes at this point, Fulls, but we're not even 17 minutes into this one. Already it's a 2-dragon lead, 4,500 gold in terms of AL's advantage, and they're just continuing to stack the leads on top of one another, pushing in for more plates. They're going to summon this Rift Herald in the mid lane. Everything on the map controlled by Anyone's Legend.
Yeah, AL is having a complete field day right now. I don't even think as IG you have a way of contesting this dragon. So AL is just going to start this up when they're feeling comfortable with their vision, with their positionings. And that's going to be, if I'm not mistaken, 3 Drakes AL, every objective so far for AL. And it just seems that this game is completely theirs to lose right now.
Looks like IG, though, still want to go for a fight, but Wei gets chunked out before he can even proc the ulti. They get a little bit of damage back onto Kyle. Wei trying to get his way into the Dragon Pit. Perhaps an advantage of being on red side at this moment. It would be soul point for AL if they're able to pick up this Ocean Drake, but a teleport is coming in from Flandra to make it a numbers advantage until Saboro arrives. Dragon is secured by the side of Anyone's Legend, and now the fight will begin in earnest. Tarzan taken down by Wei, and IG at least get a respite in terms of a kill. They do not stop the soul point going over to the Pandas.
Looks like they might not be done here. That's the shutdown they need.
That's on to Hope, and that's a big kill picked up for IG, and Wei's looking for more at the end of the day, and the moment that they needed him most, it is Rookie to step up, finding a big ulti onto the main carry of AL, and salvaging what was a disastrous set of events.
Yeah, honestly, as AL, you're really thankful you got that Drake, because you almost just threw like the entire game right there. Just being able to give away all that gold and XP and shutdowns over to IG. Had IG also gotten that Drake, they'd be in a completely fine situation right now. But AL still has that win condition set up here. Really well played by Tarzan to win the smite fight, but at what cost? Again, Sobro, who else? Getting the point and click stun, one-shotting Tarzan. It feels like that this Renekton has been chasing this Jarvan around the map all game. Hope decides to go this way towards the mid lane, and sometimes you just bite off a bit more than you can chew. He could have simply ran around and sacrificed his mid lane HP's tower, his tower's HP, but he decided to sacrifice his own HP, and that's going to end up costing his life.
So the gold lead still very much in AL's favor, almost 3,000, and they do now have the Ocean Soul point. But IG finding avenues to keep themselves alive in this game. Rookie picking up his second item in now the Luden's Echo alongside the Leandri's. Wei on the Ambessa also looking very powerful at this point. The problem is, the rest of the map not looking so good. Flandra has a big lead, and still Fodic really has been unable to get online just yet. Still not at his second full item in almost 3,000 gold behind Hope's Forest.
Yeah, it's so ironic seeing that this Sivir is just 0-0-0, yet he's still down nearly 3,000 gold. You can only wonder just how well this Varus has been doing in picking off his teammates because, I'd like to say Photic has been playing generally pretty well. He's been surviving and evading all the attempts on his life thus far, but he needs some kind of gold generation of his own. He needs kills of his own. He needs more time to get these minions. He's got the new item in here, the Essence Reaver, with the recent buffs that is really strong on Sivir. And he's also he's elected and opted to keep that Elixir of Force the entirety of the game so far. It's minute 20 and he still has the Elixir he got at level 6. So that's pretty amusing. We'll see if he's able to find a way to make use of that at one of these fights later on, because
you know what?
Yeah.
He hasn't fought anyone yet, so why even bother?
That's a good point, man.
He's just been sitting clearing waves and trying his best to at least keep up a little bit in the CS department. I mean, I think Photic was one of the bigger question marks that a lot of people had to replace Gala here on IG. Definitely not this team's initial plan at AD carry, but with Gala going over to JDG, they needed a solution. Photic has played with Rookie before, and so that was the decision that they made. Had struggled very mightily in these last couple of years as a player, and he's going to be a big question mark, and right now not answering it too well at this point. We see the Baron, which now spawns 20 minutes, by the way, started up by Anyone's Legend, although not super seriously. Tarzan and Kyle look like they are hunting and trying to catch out any stragglers at this point, and Wei might be one of them as he face checks this bush. He's controlled by a control ward, and Tarzan will go into the flag and drag onto Jway. All of a sudden the Baron's at half HP, but AL instead fishing for a fight. You see Flandre tunneling over the wall to issue a little bit of poke damage, and back underneath the Baron pit they go to try to control the vision game once again.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the Baron does once again spawn at minute 20, but I really like the direction that Riot went in making the Baron much more powerful. It reduces everyone's armor and MR, kind of similar to how Otacon did, not quite to the same degree, but if you're sitting there chunking that Baron, DPSing that Baron, you're just going to get weaker and weaker. That Baron is just that much stronger. It's going to chunk you. It's that much harder to kill. They do have some of the best Baron taking champions in the game, with Azir and with Jarvan being able to buff the Azir's attack speed. Azir even opting for this build that I really am a big fan of, the double magic pen with the Sorc Shoes Shadow Flame. It's really, really effective because you get the free Sorc Shoes grapes. All you have to do is spend 1,100 gold on your shoes, and as soon as you complete that quest, boom, you get like an extra 1k worth of stats with your Sorc Shoes getting buffed up. So that is really, really nice.
As the Dragon, that would be the soul for Anyone's Legend, spawning in just about 10 seconds time. If you thought it was hard to kill Flandre, hard to kill Tarzan, just imagine with all the extra healing that they would be able to get with the addition of that soul. IG desperate to try to save things here and make sure that does not go over this early into the game. They have good tools at their disposal, but the Dragon is already ticking very low at 3,000 HP, and IG are in no position to contest, and this Dragon is just gone. Now, can Invictus Gaming win the fight? Tempered Fate going to get spell shielded by Photic, and he's going to be able to keep himself alive. Meanwhile, Flandre face-tanking Sobero and Jway and winning in the 2v1 situation. In goes Tarzan with a Flash Cataclysm onto 2. Finds the flag and drag onto Photic, but he goes way too far forward and is taken down by Rookie. And IG can now go on the offensive. Shanks goes in, lands a 2-man Shurima shuffle, but will get taken down. And Hope still untouched, but it's Photic suddenly coming to the rescue. He gets himself a double kill before finally getting taken down by his AD carry counterpart. It's a quadra kill in for Hope, and Anyone's Legend get the soul, and they win the team fight on top.
It just speaks for itself, man. Crazy is our game. I really thought that wasn't even worth fighting anymore as IG, as soon as you hear that strum of the instrument, which everyone knows all too well when it says, dun, the enemy team has slain the Dragon Soul. You don't want to fight after that. But IG, they did posture forward. They did say, all right, let's see what you got. Let's see how well you can click, what inputs you got for us. They were just being really cheeky here, trying to keep the tether going. And, I think Tarzan, he kind of threw here going just a bit too far with this flag and drag, gets completely devoured and one-shot here. But eyes on Shanks. Watch him dodge this Ambessa ulti. He hits Ambessa ulti with his E. Flash R's, completely one-shotting those two champs with all his magic pen. But somehow, Photic cutting towards the enemy nexus, just completely dishing all the damage he possibly can. And look, he's glowing red. He finally popped that Elixir Grapes, and that probably did help him take out Kyle and keep that Baron alive.
Uh-oh, another fight breaking out here. Photic just gets caught out by Tarzan, And the Tempered Fate going to just make sure that his Jarvan stays safe. Nice job by Kyle to get a big kill onto a player in Photic that finally showed up to a team fight, but still going to get punished regardless because Hope is just so far ahead at this point. 9-1-2, as now it is anyone's legend without an AD carry on the opposition. Starting up this Baron, they should be able to take it down.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for the soul, this game would be completely winnable right now, but I doubt Wei can steal this or even play here.
He's going to use the ulti to try to get into the pit, does not find a target, instead getting knocked up by Flandre. That is the Baron secured by AL, and in the meantime, it's Shanks assassinating Rookie on the other side of the fight. Saburo goes down. Hope picks up kill number 10 and 11 at that. It is a full wipe for AL as they will march into the mid lane after taking down Baron Nashor and winning game 1 of this best of 3 against IG.
Yeah, and sometimes you just look at KDAs and you wonder, how did this guy get so fed? And you think back to the outplays that Hope made down under his bot lane tower. First outplaying Wei, then outplaying Saburo. It's those kind of things that can build the snowball and lead your team to victory here, Grapes. And AL is going to seal the deal and take game 1 off of IG's hands.
In their first game of 2026, could not have asked for a better start to the year, just like they finished the last. It's AL winning game number 1 in
draft. We're just going to have to see if they're able to pilot these champions well enough.
IG looking to bounce back after what was a very one-sided game 1, and AL looking to complete a sweep in their opening game of 2026. As we get started here, the level 1s have to be quick now that the minions spawn in 55 seconds, and that's why you see 3 men in the bottom lane for AL, 2 in the mid lane for IG, and you see a flash burn from Tarzan on his Xin Zhao, his most played champion of 2025.
Yeah, and things just completely have no time for pauses or breaks in the meta nowadays, and it's actually very interesting. I like this strategy a lot. So if you remember throughout the past few seasons, we've seen it where teams might just literally send 5 champions bot lane at level 1 just to get a ward in the bush. Now you're not really allowed to do that anymore, because if you do that and you're not able to actually recall and get back to your lane, you're just gonna lose out on minions. But it's really well played. Sion sprints to the bot lane bush, places his trinket, which means that Hope and Kyle are going to be able to have access to theirs to make sure that they can have as much vision control over these bushes down here. And it's just going to be an upper hand for AL. We saw Tarzan was forced to burn his flash. I mean, the inting pattern is kind of repeating here a bit so far. So we'll see if... and last thing I want to touch on, if this is going to matter in the mid jungle, is that the Ryze equipped Ghost, Grapes.
Oh, Photic has to flash away, but Kyle still lands the death sentence. That gets cleansed away from... We saw initially IG trading pretty well down in there in the bottom lane, but Kyle made Photic burn both of his summoner spells very early into this lane.
Oh, not again, man. Not again. This is the exact same spot he recalled last game, Grapes. This is not good. This is some PTSD for Photic down here, man. This is exactly what AL was hoping for. And I was hoping to touch on some of the other parts of the map, but unfortunately, the weak link of Photic is coming to become the story of the game before we can even discuss anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I want to give Photic a little bit of credit there. I think that was just Kyle being nasty on that Thresh.
Valid.
Making the flash, forcing Photic to flash away from the Flay, and then immediately landing that death sentence. That was some good stuff right there. On a champion that we don't typically see very often, but you know every quality support has it up their back pocket. You see Kyle having a good start to this game. Once again, it's Photic with his second early reset of the series.
But yeah, as the resident mid laner, what I did want to touch on here is this mid lane, and it looks to me that Shanks is actually in quite the precarious position. Oh, even the Hex Flash Lantern, Grapes. This guy min-maxes everything. How is he so good? But yeah, in this mid lane here, Shanks was in a bit of a predicament. He was forced to crash this wave without teleport. Looks like he was able to do so. Tarzan gave him the hover, and he's going to be able to recall without teleport and be just fine, which I actually do like it a lot personally. As a mid laner, I have been skipping teleport in quite a few of my games just to go for a combat spell, or in this case, the utility spell of the Ghost is super effective on the Ryze in this matchup, because obviously Anivia's whole thing is just controlling your position by creating terrain and forcing you to run around the glacial storm and just giving you nowhere to go. But if you just have so much movement speed that you can just do whatever it is you want, that can be a counterplay of its own. So I like that goes from Shanks, and he is able to circumvent the laning phase.
Kyle misses the death sentence, and now Wei going to make his way down to the bottom lane to try and put off a little bit of damage back onto anyone's Legend side. They'll be able to do so onto Kyle. Does not have that flash and will be taken down. That's first blood for Jue and IG.
Yeah, Wei makes his way down into the bot lane, and he does have his top lane camp spawning here, so that's going to mean that Tarzan making a beeline for the Raptors. We see pings going down from both teams here onto the Raptors. That's typically how it is. If you go for ganks like that, as Hope and Kyle, obviously it's a bit frustrating, but you understand that the Pantheon is making a bit of a sacrifice to commit to that gank. So as much as it looks like a super favorable play, don't get me wrong, it totally is, but it's not the end of the world for AL.
It's a big save, though, for the bottom lane of IG because we saw how out of hand things got for Photic and Jue in game number 1. This at least stifles that a little bit. Make sure that things are back into a more even playing field. As I say that, though, a plate picked up for Hope as Jue was forced to go back to base, picks up that Forbidden Idol. And AL still in a good position on the bottom lane, but as we take a look at the state of the game at 5 minutes, very much even in terms of gold as our mid laners have hit level 6. We get ready for the eventual Dragon or Grubs fight in the next few minutes.
Now, given the new season, I actually want to pay attention to the way that the Rise and the Yunara itemize this game, because they both have new items that are pretty good on their champions. First, we need to watch this Gromp, though. There seems to be a bit of a scuffle.
Yeah, Hook lands onto Jue, and the Flay catches him despite the flash. Hope flashes over the wall with that red and white gun, and he will be able to survive at least for a little bit, but Wei does a huge amount of blockage with his E, does eventually allow for his support to get taken down, but Hope has already fallen, and the mid laners have now arrived. Wind becomes lightning, does connect, though, onto the Pantheon, but Rookie has come to the party, and Photic's able to get himself a triple kill in that bot lane skirmish. Anyone's Legend going too far underneath the tier 1 tower, and they will get punished for it.
It's 6 minutes into the second game. Photic is already having more kills than he did last game. Thank goodness for all the Photic fans out there. He's finally going to be able to have a chance to see what he really can do here in the LPL. And oh man, I'm just so glad to be watching these players. But just look at the amount of sheer aggression taking place here. They are just fighting for every inch, every tooth and nail out here. And you see that Wei on the Pantheon even gets interrupted as he goes for the Aegis Assault here. He gets interrupted and knocked up by Tarzan, I believe. It's really unfortunate. Look, and that's the kind of difference that can make quite a bit. But Rookie is able to clutch it up with the Glacial Wall. So.
Photic! Photic!
No!
Oh, we were just praising you, and now he's in a... Oh, wait, he got the kill! Oh my gosh! Somehow out of position. And I think that AL was trying to hand the kill over to Hope, and it ended up backfiring onto them. It is now Kyle who ends up picking it up instead. Pretty big mistake there from anyone's Legend, and IG are still very much in this game.
I mean, yeah, as far as deaths go, that's a completely fine death to tank. They're going for the 1-for-1. And if you looked at the player cams, it seemed that Hope was pretty, like a flame had been extinguished as soon as he died. He really seemed to have felt that one. Whereas Photic, he kind of just like cracked his knuckles. He's like, all right, that's all right. He's like, all right, bet, I'll take that.
I mean, he should be dead a million times over here, no?
Yeah, there's no way he kills Hope here, right? It's because Tarzan doesn't even bother to cast a single spell on him.
Tarzan thought that they had it, and Photic is 3-0, now 4-1 at this point. Looks like, though, AL are unrelenting. They're still looking for plays. They're going to try to find something on a Sobro, who has procced the passive and will get the respawn, but it's just going to be avoiding the inevitable for a little bit longer. He's going to dash forward, land a couple of stuns, but still eventually will be taken down by Hope, who finally gets his first kill of the game right as the grubs spawn.
Yeah, no, this is an interesting dynamic with the Zahen. You see, he even ulted the wave there to buy as much time as he could while still being able to get the golden XP. It took them that long to kill him. You saw Flandre wanted to recall out, and he realized, wait, maybe we should learn a lesson from what Tarzan did in the bot side. I shouldn't abandon my team. I should make sure we secure the kill. But Zahen just being that much of a health bar to chew through, having to go through it a whole additional time, he just bought so much time and gave Jue and Photic all the time in the world down here. They even got the dragon, so I don't even think you can fault Sobro for that death. You know, he was completely left on the weak side, and he bought them just ridiculous amounts of time just due to the nature of his champion.
Yeah, and allows for the dragon to get picked up by IG. AL are able to, at least get that kill onto Hope, but they were not able to pick up the grubs. So they lose out on the neutral objective battle. Much better showing for Invictus Gaming so far in this game, although I have to say, Foles, it feels like a little bit self-inflicted on their side. Anyone's Legend feels like they are the one actively making mistakes, and IG are the ones benefiting from it.
Yeah, AL seems to have been shooting them in the foot more than once this game already, and we see a bit of a hook here on Sobro. He cannot revive here, keep that in mind.
Flashes out of the box, who does not get slowed down, but a teleport's coming in from Flandre, and he's just going to pop the ulti and send himself straight into Sobero's arms. That is going to be a nice kill. Easy pickings on to the top laner for IG. Bot laner's back. They will trade some plates down there for Photic and Jway. But AL get back on the board, equalize that kill count at 5, and Tarzan's able to get all 3 of these grubs.
Yeah, that can be pretty frustrating as Sobro there. They're just targeting you once again, and that death is nowhere near as worth it. But it is the same story. Photic is able to beam on the spot lane tower down here. The grubs are on AL's side, though, so it is more advantageous for AL to be hitting towers than it is for IG. But this tower down here is very, very low, and Photic already has the Kraken Slayer. So in this 2v2, they should just have complete say in the matter of how things go down there. And that tower should not be too long for this world.
See some more skirmishing up here on the top side. Sobero winning out on these extended trades rather easily. However, might not be able to do so in a 2v1 with Tarzan making his way into the conversation. Knocked back here onto Flandre, but again, remember, that passive for the Zahen only spawns every couple of minutes. And he's not going to have it available this time.
Yeah, I was taking a look at the passive cooldown there on the left side for Zahen. He still had 70 seconds left to resurrect, so wow.
IG going to try to make a play on the bottom side, though, in response. Wave goes in with the Grand Starfall, but the wave is just gone. Hope gets the kill onto the Pantheon, and that is a sign of over-aggression on IG's side this time around.
Yeah, so they actually recently added new features into the game of certain report categories. There's a new one called Team Sabotage, and I would say as Way there, as Pantheon, you're completely welcome to tick the Team Sabotage report box there. I mean, what the heck was that, man? Like, he just completely sabotaged his team.
Things are going so well for Photic down in the bottom lane. Hey, I finally got a lead after I've been getting, kind of just not having good early games these last few games. And then Wei comes in and gives over a kill. I will say Wei has been a very important part of what IG have been able to do so far into this game, setting up those 2 plays for Photic down in the bottom lane early, but that was not it this time around.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to take another look at it. I mean, I suppose they thought they had more minions and that by the time Pantheon would arrive, he wouldn't immediately be tanking the tower or something like that, but it just seemed way too overzealous. Like, I couldn't even find a reasonable look there. It just, nothing about that made any sense to me at all.
Unfortunate for Wei, who has been such an important part of this jungle position for Invictus Gaming. Speaking of jungle, Tarzan now making his way down bot lane, forcing Jway to pop that wild growth onto Photic, who now has transcended. Redemption going to heal him up as well. It looks like Tarzan not done with this play just yet. He's still looking, still hunting for some kills. Lands a knock-up onto Jway, but does not hit the W, and he'll be able to use that Dark Passage to get back underneath the tier 1.
Yeah, and Tarzan does still have the Crescent Guard. Thresh does still have the box. They are able to play pretty aggressive here. I mean, Photic and Jway burned all of their cooldowns. Here comes Pantheon, though.
Oh, you can see the value of that Thresh ultimate, though. The box making sure that nobody is able to chase after them without getting significantly slowed down. And so AL going to be all fine and dandy in the bottom lane. Now in the mid lane, they're going to be more than fine. They're going to be extremely excited about this play that they found on to Rookie. Shanks baiting this out perfectly and finding the great situation to allow Tarzan to get that kill. Coming at the cost of this bot lane. First tower of the game picked up for IG, but AL continuing to find plays across the map.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really bad death to tank there as Rookie. Looks like there's a bunch of on-the-way pings coming down here. No Realm Warp to be seen, though. Perhaps it's just the Dragon. But all that chip damage into the bot lane tower. You wait an extra minute or two, the Crystalline Overgrowth comes into play, and that tower was immediately one-tapped.
Ooh, Kyle does not hit the death sentence, and he's going to be in some trouble as Wei jumps right on top of him. Crescent Guard from Tarzan, though, knocking away a couple of players. Jumps forward, still healing, and flashes away from any threat of Photic, but the Yunara now turns his sights onto the big carries. That is Shanks down. Hope eventually going to finish off the kill onto Photic. And it's a crazy skirmish down on the bottom side. Double kill picked up for the Aphelios, Photic and Wei, both taken down in a 2-for-2 overall on the bottom side.
Yeah, and that's very advantageous for IG because Sobro didn't even have to teleport. You know, you would imagine that if 5 players from one team commit and 4 from the other team commit, that it's pretty one-sided for AL in this case. But no, IG was able to have probably a favorable result with less champions committing. Even the Scion ult is somehow clipped into the Anivia wall there. He's smiling about it.
I think it was a turret debris that he hit
Yeah, I
there.
mean, that was not the best Scion ult of all time. But look, they had less champions down here, but they were still able to over-deliver.
Problem with Thresh, you don't hit that death sentence, you are not very strong. And it gets immediately one shot there. The AD carries, though, really coming to play in this one here, Fulls.
Oh yeah, Photic was beaming, and I actually think that the redemption from Jue made a huge difference. I'm pretty sure it hit 5 champions there, 3 allies, and 2 enemies. I mean, when you get a really early redemption and just hit as many people as possible with it, that's honestly worth more than probably Sobro's TP would have been. So that was super effective that IG was able to get. That's actually their second Drake. They've got the gold lead as well, and this 0-3-0 Zahen up there was able to make a bit of a comeback. So all across the board, that's exactly what IG needed. And Photic is extremely strong. He's all of a sudden the main character of this game, Grapes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it took him 23 minutes to get his second item last game, probably. Now, already has his second in the Fiend Hunter bolts. It's going to be incredibly valuable once he procs that ultimate. He's going to have buffed up auto attacks already with that Transcendence and then with this new item as well. But now we see IG looking for a play onto Shanks. They're able to burst him down before he can even finish off the cast of the Realm Warp. And so IG starting to build a bit of a lead for themselves here, getting a kill once again onto the Rise, and they're going to be pushing up mid lane as well.
Yeah, and we're just keep seeing the same thing.
Ooh, Photic, though, he gets stunned up, slowed it down, hit up by the Moonlight Vigil, and he can have all the damage he wants. It's not going to stop him from getting taken down by the Xin Zhao. Tarzan gets on the board once more, and a big catch onto AL's side will allow them to turn their sights towards the Herald.
Yeah, and alas, before I was able to praise IG and their drafting, I was just going to say that we keep seeing how advantageous their draft is with the Anivia into the Rise, with the Lulu in the bot side being able to give them the bot lane advantage. Unfortunately, he just gets completely one-tapped. Jue even misses the redemption, and we don't get to see what those Fiend Hunter bolts are capable of. I really think that that item is pretty overtuned, and they're buffing it. So that item is just insanely effective right now on the Yunara. If you're able to just dish out 3 quick autos, that's even going to proc your Q. You're just going to be the one-shotting, but unfortunately, he was the one who got one shot. So we just need to see a bit better positioning, some slightly better inputs from Photic and Jue, keeping Photic alive here. And that better be his last death if they want to keep him as the main character, Grapes.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We've seen Photic have good team fights so far in this season. He's been able to come to play in the late game. Normally, it's been the early game that has been the struggle for this guy, but he was able to get a lot of early kills with the help of Wei and Jue. Now he's going to have to capitalize. Now he's going to have to pay back what, of course, the rest of his team was able to set up for him. And so far, he has gotten caught out a couple times too many. He's allowed for AL to stay in this game. However, it is IG still with that 1,500 gold lead. They have 2 dragons to AL's none. And they're still looking much better than they, of course, were in game number 1.
Yeah, the next thing we want to keep our eye on is that Tarzan here does have the Eye of the Herald. He's going to be able to use this to some effective advantage. You either have 2 options typically. You can use the Herald just to charge it immediately into a tower and just get its bang for its buck, and that's its value right there, done, said and done. Or sometimes it's actually pretty wise to save the Eye of the Herald for before a fight, and you can actually use it as a sort of a combat spell. Maybe they can use that on this coming Drake here, but we just want to see how Tarzan makes use of this, because This objective can be super hit or miss. Sometimes the Herald just completely gets your team like 3 towers and just completely wins the game. Or sometimes you're able to live on 1 HP and hop into the Herald and drive away. Or drive through everyone as well and then get like a Penta or something crazy. So the Herald is a super hit or miss ability right now. It is in Tarzan's inventory, and we're just going to want to see how he makes use of it.
Added value, of course, now with plates being all across the towers, not just in the tier 1s, but still some tier 1s to take down here for anyone's legend. They have not destroyed a structure just yet. We see where exactly Tarzan will place this eye. You'd imagine it will come at some point before this third dragon of the game that they desperately want to control over Invictus Gaming, as it would be soul point for their opposition side.
Yeah, and typically the tier 1 mid lane tower is the most important tower to take down in any League of Legends game, especially when there's an Anivia, because I'll tell you, Grapes, if you don't find some way to destroy this tower, whether it's with the Rift Herald or some crazy overcommitment of 5 members to try getting it, Anivia will just press R on every single wave that comes under that tower if Yunara and Lulu doesn't stop it first. And if you can't destroy that tower, you can't really access the entirety of the map. So that could be the primary target here. It looks like they're going to try syncing up this Herald with that Drake, as we were mentioning. It's very important to secure this Drake as AL, not to give over soul point.
It's actually IG with mid control as the objective is about to spawn. That's going to get them the inner positioning around this dragon. Of course, again, soul point for them if they pick it up. There goes the eye, and a teleport sure to come through from Flandre as he is now headed back to base up against the Zehen on the other side for Saboro. Dragon started up, and it should be taken down very quickly by IG. They're looking to burst it down before Tarzan can get into the pit. The wall going to slow him down, and it will be soul point secured for Invictus Gaming. Teleport comes in from Saboro, but he has to flash away as Zehen still is looking for his stacks, but gets hit up by a full decimating smash. Going to try to burst down the Zehen. Wild growth not going to be enough, and Shanks gets the kill, and Tarzan is now on the prowl. Flay lands on the way, and he'll be in a whole lot of trouble, but might be able to burst down Kyle first. No! Hope gets the kill. Moonlight Vigil goes wide, and Photic still is untouched and transcended, with a Realm Warp coming in and sending 2 members of AL down and trying to take down Rookie. The hook somehow connects through the entirety of the minion wave, and it'll allow for Hope to get back onto the board and another kill onto the Anivia. So despite the dragon going into IG's hands, AL get 3 kills for free in the team fight that follows.
And that is just the story of League of Legends. It is a team game, and if one player makes a critical mistake in a big team fight skirmish, it can cost the rest of your team. Soboro's positioning was so unnecessarily aggressive. Look, he TPs in to the middle of their whole team, and unfortunately, I'm pretty sure he still could have lived, by the way, but I think he's Eing forward or something here after the flash out. And yeah, this E right here is just completely griefing his team. As soon as Soboro dies, your team doesn't really have a front line. You're not able to even expending the wild growth and the redemption. And now all of a sudden, this fight goes from even footing to just the complete back foot for IG. So unfortunately, the rookie there in the top side, who we have so much praise for, he kind of let his team down here, Grapes, and we need to see better performances. Wow.
Oh, Shanks takes down the minion right in front of the Death Sentence, and Kyle with 200 HP able to provide a huge impact on that final kill for Rookie's side. AL are now the team that are up 1,500 gold after being down the same amount before that initial fight. And while IG do have the soul point, they are slowly hemorrhaging any lead that they once possessed, and AL is going to be able to pick up a ton of standing gold on the map over these next few minutes.
Yeah, and I think that speaks volumes to the level of team play that's at play here, where Shanks is able to set up Kyle with the alley-oop for the hook. Meanwhile, it seems like IG synergy just hasn't quite been there. I feel like Photic has actually not been able to have the confidence to click aggressively. It just seems that he's constantly just worried about this Xin Zhao with the Crescent Guard and with his lack of front line, you know, just being dead before the fight even begins. And with Wei ulting under the enemy tower and just, you know, dying, it's just he needs his team to just step up a little bit more. This one's not really on Photic all that much. We want to see cleaner gameplay. That's just the bottom line. They have 3 dragons, so the best part is, regardless of all these mistakes, of all these errors, they can still win the game, assuming this Baron doesn't go over, of course.
It has been started up, and AL definitely in a position to feel comfortable about being on the aggressive and forcing these team fights. Vodek, though, has his third item completed in the Lord Doms. Will be able to burst through some of these frontline players on AL's side if he gets enough time to dish out the DPS. Flandre goes in with that unstoppable onslaught. It cuts off the rest of IG and sets up good positioning in the mid lane right now for AL. Lantern going to be able to take Flandre to safety as the Moonlight Vigil gets thrown out, and the Baron going to once again be focused here by AL in terms of the vision department.
Yeah, and I didn't quite get the chance to touch on it in the draft, but you are really thankful as Hope this game, as Shanks, and even we saw there as Flandre, just to have that Lantern against the Anivia, because what's so obnoxious about the Anivia, she's dropping down that Glacial ulti, and then she's putting up the wall as well, so you're just stuck there, you're slowed, you can't go left, you can't go right, you can't go backwards, you just take all this damage in the world, you're just a sitting duck. But Kyle is just able to completely circumvent that problem with the use of just one W press. So I really think the Thresh is a super key focal point of this draft here, which actually came in before the Anivia. So they're just really thankful to have this on their team. And looks like they're looking for Zahen here.
One bright side for IG is they will have this dragon that spawns in 40 seconds, but it could be a situation where they're down a man as Saburo gets caught. Tarzan dashing back in with the audacious charge, but Filburo will be able to get back to safety. He has a teleport back available if he wants to rejoin a potential soul fight for IG. But now the question remains, do they want to go for the dragon or maybe a Baron or a fight in the mid lane instead? It looks like it's going to be AL to push the initiative with Flandre ulting straight into the entirety of IG. And another disastrous teleport from Soburo. He's going to get taken down once again before he even has the revive. Tarzan with the Crescent Guard on to the bottom lane of IG is going to keep himself alive for an incredibly long time and allow for Shanks to get a double kill. So AL is the one to pull the trigger, and they're rewarded with a 2-for-0 and should be able to get this Baron as well.
And at the end of the day, I just think AL is just a slightly better team, if not more than slightly. They're on the same page. They just play better. Their inputs are better. They just know exactly what page to be on and how to execute, and they are simply just executing at a much higher level than IG is here. You see how aggressive they are playing, even with Shanks realm warping in, ghosting into the entire enemy backline, knowing he has that Lantern in tow to get away to safety as well. And they're just playing so much better, and I have a feeling, Grapes, that we're going to even get to see pretty soon here another new item for Shanks here. But before we touch on that, we see, I think Wei played this pretty well, finding a way out of this fight. But who else but Sobro, unfortunately making another catastrophic error. It's just been the same story all game. They targeted him in the top side, and it's kind of like he's playing pretty tilted, Grapes. He's just not positioning very well at all game. And, as fed as Photic once was, it just doesn't matter anymore. As I said, it just seems like he's forced to click so defensively, and there's just no way he can DPS everyone. And that is what it is. And I'm excited to see this, though, Grapes. If you take a look here at Shanks' inventory, he does have the item I was touching on, the Actualizer, which is super effective. The more mana you build, the more damage you do once you pop that active. Your cooldowns are pretty much non-existent. We're back to, I don't know if you remember, what was it, like Season 5 Rise or whatever?
Season 5 Rise.
You just EQ, and you just one-shot everyone. So Shanks is going to be really OP right now.
Yeah, I mean, right now, AL just OP across the board as they have this Baron, but for the next 1 minute and 50 seconds, they're going to be able to take down this Tier 2 tower in the next wave or so. And I think just this is an example of AL being the team that has played together longer. They know the ins and outs of each other. Meanwhile, this is Rookie's first game back, second total series for IG with this set of 5 players. And you can definitely see the difference in terms of coordination and communication favoring our team that is stuck together from 2025.
Yeah, we see that the Anivia does have some utility in this draft, even being able to block the Scion ulti, but yeah, I just don't think it's enough. I mean, look at all the tools that AL has. As you mentioned, they're just all quite OP across the board, and this siege is just so hard to stifle. There's a whole minute left. We see Panther.
Shanks gonna get targeted here, but has the Seraph Shield and gonna be able to get away with the help of that Dark Passage from Kyle. The Thresh gonna Hex Flash over the wall. make sure that he's able to protect his AD carry in the meantime. So Shanks going to survive, so is Kyle, but Tarzan actually going to get caught out here as he pressed his recall button a little bit too late. He's going to have the blast cone to try to escape. He still has a Guardian Angel in his hand as well, but there is not much to fight for regardless. Even if Tarzan does go down, it will be his eventual demise. Now Flandre and the rest of AL have returned. Those Baron recalls are very fast, but it will not be fast enough as a shutdown goes Wei's way.
Yeah, that is a huge pick there, and I feel like we've all kind of had that happen where everyone's recalling, but you just want to overstay just a little bit for a bit more gold or a bit more whatever it is, and you recall just a tad bit too late. And unfortunately, you notice his entire team is in the fountain, and IG just seems to identify that immediately, and they just spam on the way, ping on top of him, do whatever it is they possibly can to reach him, shut him down, even taking that GA out of his inventory now. That's going to be on cooldown for the next 5 minutes, so it's huge here now, meaning that they're going to have a much higher chance of being able to posture for this dragon. And I will say a lot of that is off of the back away. I really like the Grand Skyfall look that he found there onto Shanks, being able to force Shanks' flash into the Dark Passage. That completely stifled the push. They had a really effective mid-bot push there with the Baron buff. Now the Baron buff's gone. Now Xin Zhao's GA is gone. Now Ryze's flash is gone. And IG has a lot more say in this game now in being able to get this 4th Drake.
Not the most control though, because you take a look up at the top of your screen, Fulls, and it's still a 4,500 gold lead in favor of anyone's legend. A lot of that in that mid jungle as Tarzan has his 3 items. Shanks now has a Seeker's Arm Guard, so you thought he was safe earlier with the Seraph Shield and with the help of Kyle. Going to be even safer now with that extra stasis and of course the ability to do a boatload of damage. 30 minutes into this game, IG have kept this closer than game number 1, but still have a lot of work to be done. Fodic and Wei gonna have to come up huge in this fight. They want to try to get this Hex Tech Soul that is spawning in 15 seconds. But right now it's AL controlling the bottom side of River and poking out IG the best they can. When Becomes Lightning lands onto Rookie, but he's able to get shielded up and stay alive for a little bit. The Glacial Storm slowing down AL's assault, but they will still be able to gain control of the middle lane and head back over to the objective.
Yeah, both AD carries do have their 4th item, Infinity Edges, in slot here. The main way they could do this is if Pantheon steals the Drake with his ulti.
Ooh, Kyle nearly gets the hook onto Rookie, but he's able to pop the stasis in time. Look at the amount of damage that Hope's able to do from such a long range with the help of that Calibra, and Tarzan is taken to about 40% HP, forced to pop that Crescent Guard early. Flandre now getting targeted here, almost taken it down. But the Moonlight Vigil going to delay any sort of aggressive play from IG. They instead turn their attention to the mid lane tier 2 and will trade it for the 2nd dragon on AL's side.
Yeah, I mean, this can't go much better as IG here. You're really doing pretty well getting some of the cooldowns out from AL. You know, Xin Zhao's ult, Aphelios' ult, even chunking Sion and Xin pretty low there, but you're only getting a tier 2 mid from that. It's not the best. Unfortunately, as much as you do chunk out AL, you just really can't enter that river unless you get a bit more. It's just so difficult to enter. I was thinking the main hope they could have is if Wei just perfectly times his ulti so he can come down and 50-50 smite the dragon. It's a bit of a Hail Mary, but I mean, you are on the back foot here. You do want some sort of a miracle play to happen. They played it pretty well, but I don't think you can play it much better than that, and this is the best they're getting, Grape. So I don't really see how they're going to find their way back in.
Yeah, I mean, getting that turret's nice, but it comes at the cost of a dragon. You're not going to be able to trade, you know, those neutral objectives back and forth for very long. You're going to have to eventually win a 5v5 team fight, and IG might have to do that now with the Baron getting started up by anyone's legend. Who knows if they'll be able to withstand a 2nd Baron buff push, and so IG now have to go for the fight. Saboro this time teleporting to a bit of a safer location, but the Baron is already gone and taken down by Tarzan. Death Sentence lands onto Wei, and he already has the Guardian Angel pop before he can even pop that Aegis of himself. He's going to eventually go forward with the Wild Growth, but still it's Shanks to get the first kill. Fodic is transcended, but he has to dash away and still gets knocked up by Flandre with a huge huge, unstoppable onslaught. Saburo dashing into a 1v5. He'll get the revive, but it comes too late, as it will be anyone's legend. Realm warping back into the mid lane and trying to take down Rookie, the last survivor here for IG. Tarzan going to try to chase him down. All they need is the wave to try to secure this game. They'll be able to get that and more as the egg gets procced, and it will be a full ace for AL.
Yeah, AL takes all of IG and just slays them all, puts them into the gray screen. There is just no way you can possibly win that kind of a fight once Wade just gets death sentence there. Kyle smurfing the fight. We one-shot Wade. There's no front line. There's no hope. You see Flandre making a montage with the Scion ulti there, completely bouncing Photic and Dway, if I may say. Super well played there from the side of AL, giving IG no hope in this game. And hit the Vlad, not the Nexus, and looks like we're gonna end up having a 2-0 for AL.
New Year.